Who do we have in person there? Well,
In
Yeah.
person, we have
Oh,
William and Colonel Guy.
okay.
It worked.
My camera's put.
Ms. Cushingberry, I see you got the chair to sign in immediately, huh?
Yes, sir. I got it done quickly.
Robin, I'm gonna log out, log back in. Having a little goofiness here. Cushenberry, do we have any public comments?
And having to fix it.
No, we don't have any public comments yet.
Yeah, who'll be here to like let them in and out?
We're unmuted.
Yep.
I'm gonna test, pull the YouTube on my phone to make sure. Mike, did you want to fold it?
Yes, thank you.
I see Leah's on.
Leah as well as Victor, so you have your full committee.
Awesome sauce. And my camera is not working, which doesn't totally surprise me.
Okay.
I'm easy to get along.
All right. Got about a minute. So I have 6 board members, right? We have the 3 committee members, then Mr. Dallas, Colonel Geyer, and Mr. Smith. Am I missing anybody?
Nope, that's it.
All right, then I'm going to call this meeting to order. This is the September 17th meeting of the Beaufort County School District Technology Committee. It's being live streamed on YouTube. The media has been properly notified, and so if you guys will join me, we will do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which she stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. There you go. Waiting for it.
Ever.
All right. So if it would suit the committee members, could we get an approval of the agenda?
So moved.
And I do have one comment. I don't think it matters. I did want to discuss the technology survey, which I thought was on here, and it's my bad that I didn't check it last night. But I don't think I need to have a motion to add that discussion because there's no action whatsoever. Would you guys agree with me on that one?
We are in accord.
Okay. So without objection from, huh? So if no one objects, then we'll just have that at the end of what's currently on the agenda. It's just sort of more of a discussion about where we go from here. Since I haven't heard from Leah, I'm going to go ahead and second the motion to approve the agenda then. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, it's unanimous. We have no public comments, correct, Ms. Cushenberry?
Comment.
Okay, so we need a motion to approve last month's meeting minutes.
So moved.
Seconded.
Awesome. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, so we're a little light on documentation, but Mr. Shohan did provide a breakdown of some of the school repairs because that's been an ongoing concern and an ongoing topic for Technology Committee. So if you want to look at the documents in Board in Diligent, you'll see that they are broken down by category and then additionally by school group and then finally by each individual school. So I think it's somewhat insightful. I mean, clearly identifies some areas that are performing above or below the average. And I'm open to any committee comments on what's presented.
I got nothing.
Leah, did you have any thoughts on the school repairs?
No, not at the moment.
Okay. I did have one question, Mr. Shohan. The x-axis there, 0, 1, 2, 3, what does that represent?
Where at?
So if I'm
Oh.
looking just, for example, elementary school, what's the 0, 1, 2, 3? Is that a percentage? Is that a score? Is that a?
That's the under percentage by repairs by school.
Okay, so if I'm looking at this, and let's just look at high school for, you know, fair. So I'm looking at the green line, which I think color codes to the high school, Well Branch High School, and the student laptop power cord adapters. That green line's quite a bit higher than the rest. That's a 10% of the laptop power cords that were turned in were found to need repairs. Is that how I'm reading that?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So I think, I think we're identifying the trends that we've been identifying. Middle school's the worst. There are some schools that seem to have more issues. I know Buford High School seems to have more cracked screens by almost double what the other high schools are. I don't know how to identify that. My biggest concern with all of this data is just, in terms of vendor appraisal. Because again, I don't know why we do the 2-in-1s at the high school level, but I don't know if you want to have that discussion, because I think that does lead to more screen damage than non 2-in-1s. But I mean, overall, the data kind of tracks what you hear anecdotally. Mr. Smith, did you have any thoughts? Because I know this is something you've been interested in.
Not right now. I'm just listening right now.
Okay. So, I mean, some school boards do approve devices. I don't really feel like that's necessary. I know as someone who procures technology, that would be really cumbersome on the technology staff. What I think I'd just like to make sure, I think that this is useful information. I mean, the visual presentation could be a little bit clearer. The backgrounds are pretty, but it makes it a little hard to read the colors. But I think the general idea is there are a few trouble spots that are immediately apparent on this that, if you can do something about potentially. But all in all, just trying to make sure that the district is being as diligent as possible in providing devices that, are the least likely to break, because as we know, it causes financial strain for students to have those, the responsibility for that. So if there's not any additional comments, I don't have anything new beyond that.
Just to let you know that Pastor Gordon is on as well.
Hey, Pastor Gordon. And I hadn't asked you specifically, do you have any comments on the repair information data that's been presented by Mr. Shohan?
No, Ingrid, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. So really the big ticket item, which I did neglected to notice was not actually on the agenda, but it's not for any kind of board action. It's just to have a discussion, is this idea of a survey, which was passed in, go ahead.
Mr. Smith has a question.
Oh, sure. Mr. Smith, go ahead.
Just to understand, in terms of information coming in terms of stolen technology, about how many stolen laptops we will say that we see a year in the district.
I've got that report, but it's going to be I think in the next action item. I got the total report for all of the 24-25 school year for lost and stolen. The total number of laptops lost was 75. The total number of iPads lost was 7. The total number of laptops stolen was 12 for the year. And there was 8 hotspots lost during the whole school year.
And you have a cumulative cost of that?
I do not. I can get that.
Yeah, I think that this sort of high level view gives us some good insight into, but again, just on a personal level, Mr. Shohan, I don't know why we do the 2-in-1s. We don't do any tablet activities, certainly at the high school that I'm aware of. So, and you get that extra hinge. And I know that that's caused some cracking. So that's my only feedback on that is, why we
When
do
you said
that.
2-in-1, when you said 2-in-1, what are you speaking about? Which is 2-in-1?
They were sort of a hot idea 10 years ago where you could have both a tablet and a computer. So if you're holding the computer laptop, if you swing it around, it flattens against the back and acts like a tablet. I personally, we bought a bunch of them where I work in like 2018, but to me, I just think that they haven't proved to be all that useful. I think they've kind of fallen out of favor, and they create, in my opinion, they create an additional possibility for damage because the hinge can be swung more. It's like an unstable joint. So just something that I would think about. And I don't know where you are, Mr. Schoen. I mean, are people requesting 2-in-1s?
That was the request previously, but we have found that we're not really using the 2-in-1s. The only thing we've seen the advantage about the 2-in-1 is that the hinge does go all the way around, and with kids' propensity to snatch and bend on it, it does cut down on some of the breakage, but we're not really seeing the people flip it all around in tablet mode to use it like that. And we also recommend that when the kids do use them, that they are seated and not walking around with the device, because you got 25 kids in a class, they're wandering around with it in their hand, they're more likely to drop it or an accident to happen.
The other thing is at some point in the next year, what I've heard, as a parent and talking to people, and is that the battery life on some of these computers is not what it is not as advertised. But that just makes it hard because with the newer schools, I'm hoping we're planning for charging stations in the classroom, like at the desks. But I know from what I've heard, like Hilton Head High, circa 1983, everyone was kind of like slammed up against the side of the room trying to get their devices charged. So that's not on this report. But really what I wanted to talk about today was we did get approved to do a survey. And so Mr. Schoen had some ideas. I had some thoughts about it. I had looked at some other examples of other districts. I think this is a really important thing. And the reason I think it's important is that right now there is a lot of confusion as to what constitutes technology. And I work in an environment with a lot of older people. When I say technology, to them, it means something different than when I say technology to, say, a PA student who's coming in. A lot of people sort of recoil from the word technology because it feels like Excel spreadsheets and, DOS computers or something. And so I think that this survey, it's important that we really try to capture what the community understands about technology, in my opinion, as well as what they think the district strategically should be doing in terms of increasing or potentially decreasing their technology. So I'm not in a huge rush to get this survey out because I think right now, the school year is getting underway. People are starting to use these computers. They're starting to, experience maybe their first midterm or their first assessment, and that sort of thing. So I'm not in a huge rush to get it out. I'm really interested in getting a survey instrument that kind of captures and gives us really actionable data so that we can take that to the district leadership and say, this is kind of where the community is, this is where the district is, how do we sort of plan strategically as input from stakeholders being one component of strategic planning. But then I think hand in hand with that is, as I mentioned yesterday, when people say decrease screen times, I kind of go, yes, sort of. But it's, we obviously are increasing screen time. We're a one-to-one district. So we have a lot of screen time in the classroom. And there's just a big difference into what screen time means and what technology means. So basically, Mr. Schoen, if you want to talk about what you were thinking about, and maybe we can just have a discussion and talk about what we can bring back to the next meeting in terms of starting down this process. Or if somebody disagrees and thinks it's really important that we get something out quickly, please speak up.
No comment?
If no one's speaking up, Mr. Schoen, the floor is yours.
So for the survey, we were initially thinking one survey, but you iterated that you would prefer something that went out to staff, students, parents, And then we could put something on the website for community members. So that would be 4 surveys. And we could differentiate the surveys some to cater more towards staff, more towards students, and the question answered. Because the initial 10 questions we came up with was pretty much just a catch-all for the 3 main groups, staff, parents, and community. But
Do you-
that shouldn't be hard
Yeah.
to change those.
Well, and I'm sorry that it's not in board docs. I don't know if you want to read the questions you had, or it just kind of you take some feedback here from this initial from the group.
Okay.
Do you want to talk about what kind of questions you
I'll
were
email
initially
it to you.
thinking about?
Sure. 1 second and I'll get them up. Or Robin will.
And Robin, if you'll just let me know if anybody has their hand up or would like to chime in.
Well,
Leah, Victor, do you guys have anything right out of the gate?
If we already have 10 questions, I mean, is that just a starting point? Are we looking for a 20, 25 question survey? Or I mean, if we already have 10 questions and 10 questions is all we want per group, per 4 groups, then why not sooner rather than later to push out the survey?
Well, I think my problem is that I try to, think about how to like access what people really think. It's different. The uses for teachers, what do they see as far as its uses in the classroom, as far as reducing their administrative burden, as far as, integrating AI, what are they seeing in the classroom? Maybe the cell phone, so that's their perspective. You have an administrator where I'm hoping they're looking at data collection analysis. I hope they're looking at, workflows, efficiency, data entry, so each stakeholder has a really different role of technology. So we can do a very 10 question general free text sort of survey and just take that information as a starting point. I think it's, here's the survey up now. Is that it there, Mr. Chauhan?
yes.
So we can look at what Mr. Chauhan has and then maybe discuss it. Leah, do you have any initial thoughts? You've been in the class.
What is the intent of the survey? What are we going to do with the results?
That's an excellent question. I think the intent of the survey is to try and find a way to, and Mr. Chauhan, tell me if you think I'm correct, is to try and find a way, what's a starting point? If you're going to start planning strategically, where are we and where do we want to go? And what's driving that? So getting some community feedback to sort of say, this is what the community is looking for. They're looking for more AI, less AI. They're looking for, more classroom software or less, and just kind of get a sense of where on the whole people are as a feedback before you start putting together sort of a strategy for where you want to go. Because if you put me in charge, you'll all be being taught by robots here directly. I'm just kidding. But
I
I don't
think
know
the
where.
surveys are going to drive that too, by the way. I mean, if our staff are extremely unsatisfied with the level of technology that they have available to them, that might be where we put in the first amount of effort, I guess.
So these are the 10 questions, and Rob, if you just want to scroll, it's a basic like, feedback survey that you would get from a restaurant or, not that, but it's just sort of like, how satisfied are you? And then Mr. Chauhan had put in some, what is it called? The Linfield or the link, anyways, the where you can kind of rate things on a scale of like 1 to 5, and then potentially some free text where people could kind of just sort of say maybe something they observed.
So like, for instance, in question number 6, that would be one that we would be really looking at our parents and our teachers to answer. What types of technology would you like to see more of in the classroom over the next 5 years? I think that would give not only our teachers and parents, but also community members, and to offer some guidelines on what they think on where the community and county's going. And anywhere on those questions where we have the other at the end, that would be a text box for those people to put whatever their other concerns or ideas on.
So yeah, and that's why when I was looking at these questions, the reason I was like, maybe we have different surveys, because I think it's important to keep surveys fairly short. People don't want to, people won't take a long and involved survey. But
Yes.
trying to capture, like you said, that one question, I mean, that's more geared towards teachers and students. Or what we could, again, there's sort of the technology in the classroom and its role in the classroom and what I think we're preparing kids for. If the stories are to be believed, the impact of technology on the workforce and the job market. And has that changed expectations of what people should learn? And then there's a question of how should they learn, right? That's more screens, less screens, augmented reality, virtual reality. There's a lot of really interesting ideas coming out of how technology in 2025 should start changing how kids learn. And then there's sort of, the administrative aspect of it, which is, are we creating a system that's so burdensome to staff that it's not really functional, right? So what I see where I am, which is similar to the school district, is you've got people who are still really, you give them a computer, they'll still print something out. They'll print the computer page out, and make notes. They really resist the computer. And then you've got people who are really savvy. And so what you end up doing is you end up running two systems basically in parallel. And that creates a lot of friction and requires a lot of staffing. So that's why I was thinking, do we want to tailor these surveys more to the particular point of view we're looking for? So
I think that would provide a lot more specificity when it comes to what we're trying to really drill down to in each demographic. And it would be very quick and easy to push out a survey to students. We just send it out in Google Classroom. Every student take it, spend 30 seconds or a minute at the beginning of class, and we can have results back almost immediately, same day, I'm sure. For the staff, probably very close to the same thing. Send it out in the internal staff newsletter. I think I just got the latest iteration either yesterday or today, something like that. So the next newsletter can go out with the link to it. Please spend 30 seconds filling this out, kind of thing. And again, almost immediate feedback. I think the parents and community will take a little longer to get some feedback on that. But I think there's a lot of benefit in breaking out a survey per group. And that will really give us a chance to really drill down into what each demographic wants.
Thank you. Carlton, you leaned forward like you had something to say. I'm watching.
No, I was taking a swig of my soda, so that's what that was. The only question I have is part of what, and I applaud this group for what you're doing and have done so far. Part of what I think you're trying to capture is, what about the outside community beyond those four groups identified so far? And Ms. Boatwright, I heard you mention that there could be a second iteration, which probably would be a good thing to consider best practices and worst outcomes that have taken place elsewhere that could be imported into this discussion for consideration. That's the only thing that comes to my mind. But I think good start.
Well, for the community version of the survey, we were planning on putting it on the website. So we should be able to get a pretty diverse input from community or other places, depending on promotion of it. The one thing you do have to realize is notoriously with surveys, we're lucky to get about a 15% return on it. So you usually have to be the person that's really very happy about something you're doing or very upset about something you're doing to take the time to fill out the survey.
Yeah, that's always the concern, right? Is you skew. And then the other thing is, how big a population do you need before you get, a good sense of the data, right? Like if you only get 30 community members and they're all 29 are against, and you know what I mean? Like it becomes hard to sort of suss out where things are. So I think there's a couple things that I wanted to get people to not vote on, but to get like their opinion on. Number one is if we do want to do just a general survey and get just a broad stroke view of what's going on right now, which is what Mr. Shohan's put together, and we can see what we get back. That's kind of one option. The other option is we could sort of develop, I had thought of 5 groups that had really unique interactions with technology: students, And the reason they're going to be different is these kids have grown up with native mobile technology, native cloud. They don't know any different, right? So they're going to have a different perspective. Parents who did not grow up native mobile as much or native cloud, but are probably living in it. Then you've got teachers and who are trying to figure out the impact on teaching and their impact on classroom. Administrators, I think, are probably in a whole different category in terms of what they would see as the best use for that, because to me, they're more about school operations, but which I think technology is a huge part of. And then the fifth group being community members, and those are the employers, right? Those are the people that are looking for workers and seeing what's coming down the pike. So I think that those are the 5 groups I had kind of identified that had unique use cases in technology and to think about. So that's option 2, is we could do different surveys. The other thing I was thinking about too is we could sort of make this a rolling process throughout the year and survey students, then survey parents, then not do it all at once. So if you had to vote for those 3 options, or if you had to kind of state a preference, I'd like to hear what everyone there would prefer. Starting with Victor.
I would prefer the individual breakouts and sooner rather than later. I don't think, it would take maybe a week at most, maybe an afternoon to come up with 4 or 5 different surveys with 10 questions each, and then push those out sooner rather than later. The one thing I was going to say about the surveys, there's a few questions in there that says in the next 5 years. I think we should change that before you graduate or before a student graduates. So.
That's a good idea. Leah, what do you think? So you're kind of voting for 2, but with speed and efficiency. Leah, where are you at?
Definitely aimed at the different stakeholders for sure, to see what their needs are.
Okay. And the rest of the board members, could you guys kind of chime in and see what and let me know what you think?
Carlton's hands up.
Good.
Yes, I'm sort of wondering, and the survey sounds good to the 4 targeted groups. I'm wondering about best practices. For example, I think Ms. Boatwright, you've engaged Horry County. I've engaged Darlington County, and both counties are doing some really amazing things. So should, on that second level, if the committee decides to go that way, should we also have outreach that's a little bit more distant, so we're capturing ideas that may not be in our local community? So that's the only question I would pose. But thank you.
Yeah, and I think that's an interesting thing for this technology committee to continue to work on throughout this year for sure, because I think that there's a ton of interesting stuff being done at different schools, and no one's doing everything, and no one's doing nothing. Beaufort County's got some great stuff that other counties could learn from us. So I think there is a really collaborative opportunity here. So that point's well taken. Colonel Geyer?
I agree with the surveys. I think you have to do that, but I really doubt that there's a lot of people that we will survey who are looking, reading Wired magazine or keeping up with current events and futuristic views. But yet there's a lot of people in this county who are very astute at that. And I was wondering if you would consider developing excuse me. If you could develop a working group for some people like Les Acker and others from the Digital Corridor, some local experts to sit down in a working group to say, okay, here's what we got. Here's what we have right now in the Beaufort County School District in the way of technology. Where do you see us in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, so that we can perhaps start to be prepared for capital investment, be prepared for perhaps a technology magnet school. There's a lot of futuristic things that I don't think students and parents have the wavelength to get into, but yet we can really find ourselves behind. We don't want to get too far ahead, but we certainly want to be able to make intelligent decisions on where we're going in the 5-year, 10-year period. Just for consideration.
That's fantastic. Mr. Smith.
I really don't see a need to have an emergency push out on this. I think we should take one because I like to sleep on things versus making a quick decision. In terms of what this looked like, because like Mrs. Frazier said, when we move, we need to move with a purpose in terms of what are we going to do with this, who, what, when, where, when, why, and how. So I just don't want to take a survey to say, hey, look here, this is what people are interested in, because as the board, we have to make a sound decision too on how we're budgeting and how which direction that we're going in terms of spending the district, in terms of spending money and being stewards of the money too as well. So we want to get the best bang for our buck, but also serve the needs of our community. And by doing that, I think is that rushing it to just say that we did a survey is not really what personally is not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for in a survey that's very intentional about what we're asking and looking to get serious, real feedback from people, and where people are saying, oh yeah, that survey was a pretty good survey. I felt like that survey was really, they we put our survey and put it in play. So I mean, so my question is, also we talked about like if my membership correctly, we talked about possibly also getting someone in here to basically coach or to be an expert. So I believe that the survey was to help us understand where things that we might be able to improve or how people feel. So to do that, I think that we need to be intentional about what we put out there and to properly sleep on it and say, hey, look here, this is the final product, like how we do other things in this district in terms of when we put stuff out. There was a letter that the board sent out long ago, and if my memory serves me correct, we probably had about 3 or 4 meetings before we actually sent that letter out. And I'm not sure that we should have 3 or 4 meetings before we send out the survey letter, but I'm thinking that we want to understand exactly what questions that we're asking and what results are we looking for from these questions. And I mean, I'm not sure that just reading these today that I'm ready to push these questions out. This is my first look at these questions. So when I push them, when I push questions out, I want to have a reason for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Pastor Gordon, 1218 Isaac.
Yeah. Well, you know what? The survey is a very good idea. And I see as I've been in Beaufort County, some of the things that have been put in place, I've seen at the Green Street Gym. Someone wanted to do a daycare out here in our area. And that's what they did. They went through surveys to actually see what the need was. And I think Victor mentioned it earlier. How we get the survey in the hands of the people that we need the response from, I think is more important. And the questioning and how the questions are posed on the survey. But I think the survey is very important. To me, my thing is actually getting it into the hands of the people that we needed to get into, especially the community, because we know how we kind of go back and forth with the community, trying to get everybody involved in it. And I think that's going to be the hardest push right there. How we're going to get it into the hands of those of our constituents for them to say yes or no, especially, and I'm talking more or less on my side, District 1. I have an issue on that side. So, and that's one of the things that I'm working on. But the survey needs to be done because technology, it's here. It's not coming. It's actually here already. So, my biggest thing is getting it into the hands of the people that we need to get it into, and how we go about that part.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think, it is interesting trying to get it out into the community. And we need to come up with some ways to do it. And I think the one thing you said, the way you put it, I thought was really excellent. I think we need to be careful how we bill this, because if you bill it as a technology survey, that sounds really boring. as much as I love technology, that doesn't sound exciting. But if you bill it on the role of schools in the future, the future of, it's a very futuristic concept. It's a very much like, what is the future of education with all that's going on in the world right now with technology and whatnot. So I think is important. I thought the way you put it, I'll go back and check my note taker, sounded a whole lot better than a technology survey. So, what I'm hearing, and speak out if you disagree, is that we do maybe want to target groups with different surveys, that we don't want to rush out a bad product, but we want to get it done. I do think there's an argument to be made for getting it done sooner rather than later, because it's December, we start thinking about budget, right? So if we get some of this information, get some survey back that people are really interested in, doing something different, that might be something to get in front of the budget folks before that horse is out of the gate. So I think doing that in a swift but not reckless manner would be probably the way I'm reading the room on that. Does anyone disagree with that assessment? It won't hurt my feelings.
No, I don't disagree. Just to kind of like address what Mr. Geyer was saying, I don't think there's any such thing as going too fast or too far ahead, because technology changes so fast. If we actually drag our feet too long, by the time we choose to do something, that technology might be obsolete. Or even if we're thinking so far ahead, by the time we purchase it, we're probably going to be with everybody else. And we're only going to have that technology for a year or two before something better comes out. So, it's definitely time is, especially when it comes to technology, time is your enemy.
I agree. I see that 100%. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to bring up that I think Mr. Shohan and Colonel Geyer alluded to a bit as well is, I think what'll be really interesting and really important when we're evaluating this data is to understand, and I was thinking about this a lot when I'm talking, because I talk to this range of people, and you talk about the area that's most impacted by technology right now. Healthcare is leaps and bounds ahead of everything else, really, in terms of where it is and where it's trying to go. And we're going to see a lot of really interesting stuff coming down that pike. And I've got this range of people from med school students who volunteer in our clinic to 91-year-old physicians who are still volunteering. And their reaction to what technology is so informed by how comfortable they already are with it. And I was talking to someone about interviewing people, and I said, I can tell within about 5 minutes where someone is on that spectrum roughly by how they use technology, every day. So I was thinking about like my phone. I open and close my garage doors, turn my lights on and off. My car, I pay for everything, with my phone. Basically, I do almost everything on my phone. And, for a lot of people, they do nothing but make phone calls. Like that's the spectrum, right? So I think it'd be useful to what I'm hoping is in this survey, Mr. Sean, that we capture some demographic, that it's a vote once, because I know there's some people that would probably vote multiple times, so you vote once per email type of thing. Some basic demographics like, name, maybe, obviously if they're a parent or a student, I would love to capture age if it's appropriate. Maybe where their address or whatever information we want. But to me, the most important thing that we should capture demographically is sort of some sense of how comfortable they are with technology, how much they're actually using it. Because I think you're going to get really different responses based on how much the survey taker. In my opinion, I think that would be an important color for the survey results, and to see where people are, and then contrast that with maybe some of the students who are so marinated in technology all the time. So I don't know if anybody had objection to that or thoughts or feedback on that idea, because that's something I wanted to include in the survey if possible. Anybody?
Me. One thing we could look at when putting out this survey is to coincide it with like the first week or two in the month. That way we could get that information out to our SIC committees out at all of our schools. Yes. Because that would generate a lot of committed parent interest in it.
Awesome. I think that's a great idea. Okay. So what I'm going to take away from this conversation, I'm going to tell you, this is my summary, and then you guys pop in and say, add to it, subtract to it, disagree with me. I think it's just a starting point that we do between now and our next meeting, that we all kind of, as much as possible by email, talk about questions. Mr. Shohan, if you have, I have some ideas I'll send to you, and send to the whole group, send to the board for evaluation, but bringing sort of a rough draft to our next meeting, because that would be mid-October. We could potentially then even, we have, Colonel Gar, we have a end of October work session, right?
Yes.
No, November.
November, yes, November.
It's the end of
End of
November.
November. November
Yes.
what?
November. It's November 21st.
Yeah, no, I do not, I would hope to get it out in the first week of November. So maybe we can look at the dates on that. What's our next, because what I'm thinking is come up with a rough draft between now and our next meeting, finalize it and get it out early November.
Well, that depends on, so if you want to kind of stay with your schedule, your next meeting would be October 13th, which is Columbus Day. That's Monday, the 13th.
Okay. I'm working Columbus Day, but I'm happy to rearrange that if other people have that day off.
I mean, do you want to change? I mean, it doesn't have to be that Monday.
Right. So we're talking about mid-October being the next.
You can do
ish.
Wednesday, Wednesday.
Did it freeze?
I don't know. I was wondering if I got dropped off.
Yeah, it looks like it's frozen. I don't see anybody moving at all.
Technology.
Yep, no one's moving.
Ingrid?
Oh, there you are. How's it
Your
going?
internet connection is unstable.
Yeah, we got frozen up there for a
There you
little bit.
Mr.
Glitch,
Smith Mr. Smith has a question.
Okay, Mr. Smith.
In terms of getting this out, in terms of getting this, seriously getting this survey out, it really depends on, upon how aggressive and how soon we want to get out, because at first y'all sound like y'all want to get it out as soon, and there's no reason why if we want to have a different look, that you could possibly have a meeting 2 times or 2 times a month, or you could schedule a meeting within the next week or so. And this was really something that we wanted to get out. And in other committees, I know in operations there were times where we had different things going on, where we met two times or a couple times that month to get out a finished product like this right here in terms of the 8%, or a survey like this right here. So I don't see it being a problem with us having another meeting to finalize this and to get to fine tune, so that if we want to have this and give people the proper time to be able to do this survey and to get the survey information out for areas like my area and Pastor Gordon area, where we may need to be able to let our stakeholders know to get those things done. I said a lot, but basically, the gist of it is, if we need to have another meeting, I believe we do have that option to do that, to get it done.
Let's do this. What I would like to do is request that any board members, and particularly our committee members here, submit any questions, ideas, thoughts they have about putting this together. I would like to keep these surveys brief. I don't want this to be cumbersome to the district to do, and to, 10 questions, I think, is a good guideline. But I have a couple thoughts on some questions. So over the next couple of weeks, let's just send those in. And Mr. Shohan, if possible, at our next meeting, if you could have kind of rough draft. And then if we have a lot of comments, concerns, discussion, and it warrants another meeting, we'll have another meeting. If we don't, then we don't need to put that on the book right now. And I think we should set as a goal that like, to your point, Mr. Shohan, early enough November, because I think getting in front of the SICs would be awesome. And then we can use these survey results. Hopefully we'll get enough responses and get enough data out of it that can really inform a work group inform, bringing in the, getting a sense of where our stakeholders are, I think is a really good jumping off point, and having that before, the budget book starts getting closed. So that's kind of my thoughts on it. I think that gives us a little bit of structure, and I don't think we need to have another meeting between now and then, because I don't think it'll be that challenging to put together. Even though there are 4 different surveys, keep them pretty short. Some will overlap. And if all of us could just send in what we think we might consider asking about. Does that sound reasonable for a workload, Mr. Shohan?
Yes, if we can finalize it on the next meeting date, what is that, October 13th or October
Ish.
15th?
Are we gonna do the 13th or the 15th?
I'm fine with whatever. What Leah, Victor, Mark, what do you guys have going on?
I'm good for either day.
Either day works for me.
Columbus Day, I know, is a holiday at John Paul too.
You are muted, Victor. Victor,
Thumbs
you're
up or
muted.
thumbs
We
down
can't
the
hear you.
13th. Victor, thumbs up or thumbs down on the 13th? I can't see what's going on.
I'm mute. My God.
Well, there you are.
I'm like, oh, it's not working. Stupid technology. Anyways, either 13th is fine. I don't care.
Okay, so we'll shoot for the 13th and have a rough draft of the surveys by then to review. If we determine we need another meeting, we can schedule that. The goal will be to have this out early November. And I know I've got an SIC meeting tomorrow for Hilton Head. We could start like talking about it, maybe that it's coming in the November meeting. That's something we want them to consider doing, or reach out to the chairs type of thing. And then Pastor Gordon, if you have any ideas in your community and anybody else that, ways we can get, the more participation we get, the better, just because we'll get a better sense of where people are at.
Will do.
Awesome. Okay.
And if we can finalize it on the next meeting, I could post it on Monday, November the 3rd. And then if we just leave it out there for 2 weeks, that way we can make sure it gets to all of our SICs. And I think 2 weeks is plenty long enough to have a survey out there.
Absolutely.
Wait. That depends on, if we're talking about going through SICs, then it depends on when the SIC meeting is. Because if the SIC meeting is not within that window, or they just had it, then that possibly may not be conducive. So once again, it comes upon how we want to package it up. So I mean, that 2 weeks can be good for a lot of things. But if we're going to have a certain way we're going to go about it, then that's something to think about.
Robin, do we have SIC meeting dates? Does that information then?
No, but I can contact the schools and find out the dates for the SIC meeting dates.
I'm just curious. I think ours is the 3rd, but what I would do with like our SIC, and I know Mr. Dallas will give me a hand with this, is just say, hey, look, November 3rd, they'll get it out by email and we can talk about it, at an October meeting, at the next October meeting, to start talking about there will be a survey coming that's important. So I think that's reasonable, but if you have any concerns, we can leave it open longer if we have poor turnout.
That's a good point, because most of the SIC coordinators that run it at the school level, they have a database of all the emails of the parents that come regularly. So as soon as we finalized it on the 13th of October, we could go ahead and get an email out to all of our SIC chairs. And that way
They can send it
we wouldn't put it out to the 1st of November, and it would give them 2 extra weeks to put out communication to their parents, because normally I get like one email and a text from the SIC at Bluffton High every month. So I'm sure we'd have enough time to get it to all the parents.
And Colonel Geyer, could you talk to the gentleman you mentioned, Les Ackers, and see if like the technology digital corridor people would kind of promote it amongst their membership and their contacts?
I see them every week. I'll do that.
Wonderful. Their feedback would be very valuable. All right. The only thing, and I don't want to talk about it, I want to wrap this meeting up in a short period of time, but I do think, we're talking about at the board meeting with screen time, and we've gone phone free, and the feedback on that nationally and locally is very good. But I think there is an element of helping people understand what screen time means, and helping people understand what technology in the classroom actually involves, because I think people think it means more, button pushing, when it really, in today's landscape, there's so many exciting things, whether it's virtual tours of the Louvre or, personalized multilingual tutors, that it's a very human element, and that it's certainly not going to replace humans, that no one's putting robots in front of a classroom or, doing all virtual school. So if when we get the survey, Robin, can we put just to have a discussion about where people are on that and what they think about what they're seeing out in the community, and just in terms of trying to educate people what this could potentially look like, so they don't just think we're cramming.
So that's just a future topic to talk about
Yeah.
screen times. Okay, all right.
I just kind of wanted to get it out there, get people thinking about it and talking to people.
Okay.
But I think
Yeah,
that's
'cause
planned for the summer. Yeah.
Screen time's a real difficult subject to talk about because, I mean, we can track when kids use our applications that are inside of our ClassLink SSO. So it's very easy for us to track that. But then that kid has that device for the rest of the day. They could be spending a lot of time on YouTube or other web-based content. So, and we can't really track that aspect of it.
Well,
So
then you
could
Sorry, go
part of
ahead.
I'm sorry, I don't know how to raise my hand. Could
No, Leah,
part
go
of this
ahead.
discussion be actually a definition for what screen time is too?
Yeah.
So parents, when we do say screen time in meetings, or when we're questioning what the child does, particularly as screen time, we need to have a definition for it.
Yeah.
Mr.
Sorry, go ahead. Oh, Carlton. Thank you,
Yeah,
Robin.
thank you. To add on to that screen time discussion, I think it probably warrants some definition, as someone said, so that was a great point. But also that screen time impact exceeds when they are within the borders of the school. And so maybe an educational program that extends into the community so that parents understand, that juxtaposition between interpersonal development and screen time. And that might be beneficial. So just for consideration. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting topic, because when Mr. Shohan said sometimes they're on YouTube, my kids are on YouTube a lot, but they're studying Roman history. It's like, not all YouTube videos are the same either. Or is it just you're watching, dance videos on TikTok? I mean, there's a big difference between what's on the screen and what is screen time. So if we can put that on for October, we'll have the survey rough draft, and then we'll have at least an opening discussion of what I think will be an ongoing discussion about screen time in the schools.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Anybody else have anything for future topics?
Mr. Geyer?
Yeah, Mr. Geyer.
I have lost the bubble on this. It was talked about a number of years ago, but I haven't heard anything about it lately. And it's partly student services, but it's esports.
Yeah.
I would really love to get an update on what's being done, if we've got esports established in our middle schools and high schools. If so, how it's going, how many kids are participating, do they have the right kind of bandwidth technology or anything like that to make it happen. I haven't heard anything about it for some time.
Love that.
Got some good news on that. Because of the MedTech 7 program run by ISD, they had some grant money that we used to buy machines for Well Branch High, Beaufort High, and Bluffton High. And then as a district, we provided devices for May River High, and devices are at Hilton Head High now. And we're heading to Battery Creek. So we should have a full complement of all of our high schools. But I will get a more detailed breakdown for you.
Okay, so that's 3 agenda items from October. And I love that esports discussion. That kind of goes along with what's screen time and what's a sport, right? Excellent. Okay, anybody else? Am I missing anybody, Robin?
Nobody else is. Nope.
All right, we got 9 minutes. What else you want to talk about? Okay, email everybody, CC the board, email Mr. Shohan if you have some things you think that the survey should address, and we'll kind of give him that input. All right, motion
Thanks,
to adjourn.
everybody.
So moved.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Right.
Have a great evening.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.